I used to work in palliative care as a doctor, looking after dying people. In Australia, there was a palliative care nurse who wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of Dying People. These were people that were dying before their time, like I used to look after, of cancer or chronic neurological illness. You know what the top regret of dying people was? That they didn't have the courage to be themselves.
Mm.
And the third top regret was that they didn't have the courage to express their emotions. They pretended to be happy when they were not, and so on. So the question for the rest of us is, do we want to wait till some terminal illness wakes us up? Or should we just confront the fact that in so many ways we're afraid to be authentic because we're so afraid of being rejected? And as children, we didn't have much choice. As adults, can we develop that freedom to be ourselves?
Wow. Yeah, it's like, it's amazing what your feelings or your heart or your mind will like want you to do sometimes, but then this other smoke comes in, that feels stronger sometimes, and it almost clouds that feeling away.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it does.
Yeah.
And am I interrupting? Sorry.
No. I just wanted to, you said that in the book that if you have a trauma that you can't process, you essentially have the trauma of unprocessed trauma.
Yeah.
So now you've had a trauma that's happened.
Yeah.
And then if you can't process it, now you have almost a new trauma of unprocessed trauma.
Well, they have the ongoing wound, which is what trauma means. Now, look, let's take an extreme example.
Okay.
Let's say a child is being sexually abused. So what would their instincts tell them to do? Well, their instincts would say, fight back, or run away, or ask for help, for God's sakes. But by definition, none of those options are available to the child. So the only way they can survive is to disconnect from themselves. And that disconnection then gets wired into the nervous system, into their brain. And every time they even think of being themselves, as you just described, they get scared. Because being themselves because had they fought back, had they tried to escape, it would have been even worse for them. So that disconnection from the self was the only way they survived. Now, every time as an adult, they even think of being authentic, that fear comes up.
And it may not even come up for them like in their awake mind. It's almost like it comes up at a level where you don't even realize like that something's pulling the strings in the distance. That's what's pretty remarkable.
Well, pulling the strings is exactly the right analogy. There's a neurobiologist, neuroscientist, quite well known at Stanford University, Robert Sapolsky, who wrote a book recently called Determined, by which he means predetermined. He basically says there's no such thing as free will because we're so conditioned by our biology, our culture, and our early experiences. And he's almost right, because what he's talking about is, as you say, we're pulled by these invisible strings of our unconscious that were programmed into us even before we were born, even in our mother's wombs. And so it's just I find it personally, a lifetime's challenge to cut the strings and to actually be in the present moment as an adult person connected to myself.